it's good to have a plan, but expect that plan to be broken, or at least you'll have to make changes to that plan.
Welcome to this episode of the Bump in the Road podcast. Bump in the Road is brought to you by Derbyshire Family Health Service, part of Derbyshire Community Services NHS Foundation Trust. Today, Michael is talking about his experience of becoming a dad and the struggles he faced as a new father. Please be warned that this podcast may cover sensitive topics. If you feel like you need support, our contact details are listed at the end.
The pregnancy went quite well. It was a fairly reasonably straightforward pregnancy. So there wasn't really too much to worry about in terms of my wife or the baby. Obviously a couple of little things, but nothing significant. So yeah, the pregnancy was quite relaxing. I think partly we didn't really know what it was going to be like to have a baby. We don't really have any friends or family that we're close with who've had babies recently, so I think we didn't really know what was coming, so we're maybe a bit underprepared for it. But that did mean that I think we weren't really too worried about it. So having a newborn was really hard. I think, as I mentioned, we didn't know what to expect. We were a bit potentially naive about it. So when we did have our first, it was like a bomb going off, and I think we struggled to bond with the baby. You're kind of told in films and things that the second you lay eyes on them, they'll just instantly love them, and that didn't really happen. Not that instant connection. I think that probably took 4 months in was when I think I was like really had that bond and that connection, but it definitely took a while. And then I suppose on top of that, there's the sleep deprivation, which was very hard. I don't think you can't really quite prepare yourself for that. And we've never had any sort of sleep deprivation like that before. So yeah, that was hard on top of kind of everything else that was going on. I think what didn't help as well was that our baby, she did cry a lot. She had quite a difficult temperament, which meant that just made everything that bit harder, and meant that it was an even bigger adjustment. For example, like going out, because she was such a difficult temperament, we struggled to go out at all. Even just to go out to cafes or go for a walk or something like that, we couldn't really do any of that. So that was hard. Felt very restricted to the house, I suppose, because we felt like we couldn't really leave. One specific thing that made it even harder, on top of I think her just having a generally difficult temperament, was that she had a tongue tie, which unfortunately wasn't sorted until she was 4 months old, which made breastfeeding really hard. She struggled a lot with feeding. Once we got that sorted, I think things did improve. I don't know if it was just the tongue tie that was the issue, but that definitely didn't help things. Obviously, there were even though a lot of it was hard, there were definitely times when it was like just lovely. You got your new baby that you're holding, and it is an amazing feeling. And that did get more and more so as she got older and kind of her temperament got better. We could do more things. also like she starts to, you know, look at you and interact with you more and the world. So, you know, as things go on, it did get better. But I think that didn't help either, that it was such a slow improvement. Like I said, it probably wasn't even until 4 months before it kind of really things started to improve. So I think that was hard, just how long it took for things to get better. At the time, I just thought it was a difficult situation and that it was just hard. But I think looking back, I definitely had some mental health issues in that time. But my wife did have some support from the feeding specialists. And then a link to what I was saying before, with our baby having tongue tie, the feeding specialist did sit down and talk to us about that as well. So that she helped us get that sorted, which helped sort of our mental health, in that things got better once that had been sorted. And she did also take the time to listen to my wife. So I think that helped my wife with her mental health. And I think that then did help my mental health, because I could potentially see my wife was getting better. Then we also started, that prompted us to discuss our mental health between me and my wife, which helped. And as soon as we started talking, having open conversations, that's when it helped a lot. But in terms, I suppose, outside of that, specifically for me, I know that there is a lot of focus on the mum and the baby. That is the two most important people. But there were times when I wasn't even kind of acknowledged that I was even there, and almost kind of seemed like I was, like they didn't want me there, which didn't help. I did want to be there to help, but you know, I suddenly felt like I couldn't be of help, and in fact I was being like a hindrance in the situation, which wasn't helping I suppose my mental health. So it would have been nice to potentially have been a bit more involved in that in that support and those discussions, especially considering when myself and my wife talked between ourselves, that helped our mental health. So potentially if we had also had a healthcare professional as well, so kind of freeway discussion, then hopefully that could have helped more. I suppose going back to with my wife struggling as well and wanting to be there to support them, it was hard to see my wife struggle with like the feeding and the tongue tie and sleep deprivation and all that. And I think obviously you got your wife who you love, and she's struggling, and that's a difficult thing to witness and see. When I used to go off to work, and I kind of knew that my wife was struggling at home, it made being away and being at work very difficult. And I think that affected my bond with the baby. To kind of help my wife, because I knew she was struggling, I used to try and take the baby as much as I could, often try and take her out for walks, and encouraged, when I was taking the baby, I encouraged my wife to do things like go for a run, which she enjoyed before we had the baby, and I think it was just a bit of time for herself, so I tried to encourage her to do things like that, which I think helped, just having a bit of time to herself and a bit of kind of doing something for herself as well. And it was also good to have actually a bit of alone time with the baby. I think that hugely helped our bond in the end. to begin with, we did feel very restricted to the house, and I think especially my wife was very restricted, and as part of that, maybe didn't go out and go to make connections with other people, didn't go out to groups and things, so kind of had to encourage her to go out to groups and start to interact, start to make friends with other mums and things, and I think it might have been difficult for her at first, but I think it really helped her going out and going to these groups and making friends, and some of them she's still friends with now, and I think that really helped, just have those connections and other people to talk to. Once it got to 4 months, things got a lot easier because a tongue tie had got sorted, a temperament had got a bit better. I think just when they get to that age, for me anyways, I think they're just, you have more of a bond with them because they can actually start to interact with you and interact with the world. And so from 4 months, certainly from 4 months up to a year, was a lot more positive, and we could really start to build a connection with her. Although something that didn't help was at 6 months, she had a really horrendous sleeping regression, and that meant that we had some pretty horrendous sleep deprivation for about 6 months, solid. We very rarely got more than an hour's sleep at a time, and quite often woke up every half an hour, which was very hard. But at that point, we did have like myself and my wife definitely had a much better bond with our baby at that point, which definitely helped. So even though it was a struggle with the sleep deprivation, we had a much better bond with our baby. So it wasn't as hard because I loved her much more. We were doing a lot better at that point, especially sort of 6 months onwards, even though there was like sleep deprivation. When she started becoming this proper little person, we had a better bond. There was definitely, it went from just looking after her to kind of learning to be in the moment, like be in the moment with her and really enjoy her as a person, rather than just being this thing that you look after, and that being in the moment and enjoying her really helped. And also just being able to do more, like we'd get out of the house more, have more family days out, holidays, just generally have, I suppose, just get a bit more of our life back, not back, but have a bit more of a life and do things with her and as a family and enjoy those moments. It's good to have a plan, but expect that plan to be broken, or at least you'll have to make changes to that plan. Or if not a plan, you might have expectations. So I think it's good to have some expectations because that kind of helps you plan for things and things, but try to those expectations might not come true, so just prepare for those expectations to not come true.
If you're struggling with your well-being during pregnancy or with your baby and you feel like you need some support, you can contact Derbyshire Family Health Service on 01246 515100 and make an appointment with a health visitor. You can also text us on 07507 327769. This is a confidential text messaging service for parents-to-be and parents and carers of 0 to 5-year-olds, providing advice and support from one of our healthcare professionals from Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m, excluding bank holidays. You can also visit our website at derbyshirefamilyhealthservice.nhs.uk.